In case you haven't seen the other videos, this is part 4 of my breakdown of the Fallout lore and secret iceberg chart. I did not make this chart, but I will continue breaking everything down as I go along this rabbit hole. You don't have to watch the other parts in this series for it to make sense, but it's just more Fallout lore and goodness, and it'll help the channel out. Today we will be breaking down tier 5 and 6 of the chart, leaving only a part 5 covering the remaining tiers. With this, it will finish off the series, and it'll finally come to an end. And what other type of content do you want me to cover? Do you want more iceberg-related content, or do you want me to do more Fallout-related content in general? Let me know down below. With that out of the way, let's start diving deeper into the iceberg chart. Level 5. Fallout 3 Cryolator. Everyone has played with and tested the Cryolator in Fallout 4, as it's one of the first weapons that can be seen by the player when trying to leave Vault 111. However, did you know that the Cryolator was originally going to appear in Fallout 3? This weapon would have been categorized as a homemade weapon, so an item that the player could have made by collecting certain pieces of junk in order to create this weapon at a workbench. Some of these items include coolant components, liquid nitrogen canisters, and a crutch. Every item except the crutch, which is used in other weapons, was cut from the game. There's no reason as to why the Cryolator was eventually cut from the game, but I suppose it's probably just mixed it up too. They didn't have enough time. Fallout Extreme. Did you know the first planned first-person Fallout game wasn't Fallout 3? In fact, it was called Fallout Extreme. Only in development for a few months in 2000, this game would let the player control their own small squad of fighters, similar to what is seen in Fallout Tactics. Except this time, the squad would be fighting against the Brotherhood of Steel and fighting for a group of revolutionaries against them known as the Cause. The fight would start in Oregon and make their way through Canada and then to Alaska. And then after the Brotherhood of Steel is semi-defeated, the group would realize and find out why the Brotherhood of Steel has been so oppressive against the normal people. And that is because they were getting ready to invade, and get this, Imperial China. Yeah, that's right. The Brotherhood of Steel was about to invade Imperial China, a group that is so far away from the United States, it's just crazy, especially seen in the post-world Fallout. They would be invading Imperial China because they would be constructing a doomsday missile to destroy the rest of the US. From there, the Cause fights their way through Russia and then Mongolia, which of note, they fight a raider group known as the Horde of Huns, which I absolutely love. And finally, they reach the Forbidden Palace in China. This has to be one of the most craziest entries and ideas for a Fallout game that I've ever heard. It just doesn't make so much sense to me. I like the idea to an extent. I just don't think it really makes any sense, which is, that's where the idea falls apart for me personally. Slander and Racree. Alongside other creatures that were created and experimented with the FEV, raccoons were also added into the mix. This is canon by one holodisc that is still found in the original Fallout that says, "We have infected 53 raccoons with a new strain. In addition to the now expected size increase, behavioral tests confirmed an increase in intelligence and manual dexterity by 19 points on the Schuler Cap Index. Unfortunately, several subjects have escaped the confinement and had to be hunted down and dispatched. Major Barnett ordered the remaining subjects terminated. 2 pairs were unaccounted for." This race of intelligent raccoons were eventually cut from the final version of the game, alongside the location where they would have been found, known as the Burrows. The group would become skilled hunters and name themselves the Tribe of Slander, having forgotten they were once simple raccoons. They were eventually cut from the final version of the game due to the quest and location not seeming appropriate or fitting into the rest of the game. With the holodisc found in the glow the only mention of this race, the question remains, will we ever see this in the future of the games? Due to it not being mentioned of Fallout 2, which was also developed and created by Interplay, this is most likely never going to be seen in the light of day. But I have to admit, I am mildly intrigued by the idea of having an intelligent raccoon race, and seeing it one day in the future does bring me a little hope. Cafe of Broken Dreams. In Fallout 2, while exploring the wastelands, you can encounter a large cafe that is labeled as the Cafe of Broken Dreams. In here, you will find all the different character models of the Vault Dweller from the original game, and some models that couldn't be used by the player, including a black male and a female with red hair. The characters also make comments about their lives and their players, including the mentions of how long their player took creating them, or some stupid thing that the player has done. Other characters from the original game that can be found here also include Tandy, Set, and Dogmeat. This is the location where the character can recruit Dogmeat as a companion. By stripping down to their vault suit, Dogmeat will decide to join you. The whole encounter is a reference to the Boulevard of Broken Dreams. No. The artwork, not the song, which depicts deceased movie stars. This is a really cool encounter, especially your first time going through the game. Seeing Dogmeat and having all these other companions is a really nice little reference. Also, I have to mention that I've seen this artwork going around a lot and never knew the title of this, so the more you know. Stealth Boy side effects. If you have played any Fallout game, you are aware that Stealth Boys are an extremely useful item in the game when it comes to stealth missions, which basically render the player invisible. However, with this technology comes drawbacks. Seen in Fallout New Vegas with the Nightkin, we are able to see that the invisibility field that the Stealth Boy produces can cause permanent neurochemical changes in the user, which can cause paranoia, delusions, hallucinations, and even schizophrenia. We can see and learn from Dr. Henry that these are prolonged effects of the device due to the Nightkin being members of an elite squad that always had their Stealth Boys on. I think it can most clearly be seen by Dog or God in the Dead Money DLC. It's honestly kind of sad to see the reactions or what has the outcome of these side effects of the device. But a little known fact is that the Stealth Boys have always been planned to have this side effect since Fallout Van Buren or the cancelled Fallout 3 game. Hairy Deathclaws. Fallout Tactics introduced us to hairy Deathclaws, which are an entirely new, separate Deathclaw species that can be found in the Midwestern United States. The most interesting thing about these Deathclaws are, unlike their West Coast counterpart, instead of them being reptiles, they are mammals, which gives them their fur. Instead of having scales like in every other iteration that we see of Deathclaws, they have fur. They also hunt in packs and have a matriarchal society. And most interestingly, they have the ability to mimic human speech, which basically gives them another layer instead of just killing machines. This also adds another layer of intelligence and makes them more questionably if they are more like an intelligent Deathclaws as seen in Fallout 2. Of course, because this is seen in Fallout Tactics, we are unsure if this group is really considered canon or not, and it brings up more questions than answers. But some of my lingering questions are, how are they created? Are they like an offset of the intelligent Deathclaws? And the thing is, we will and most likely never know. Fallout Online. Fallout 76 wasn't the first planned Fallout game. In fact, way back in 2009, Fallout Online was in the early stages of development by Interplay Entertainment and Masthead Studios. This was after Bethesda bought the intellectual property of the game, but Bethesda still allowed Interplay to work on the Fallout Online game as long as they gained the funding for it and met a strict deadline. They didn't do either of these, and it actually ended with a lengthy legal battle in which they decided to settle out of court. This is one of the final straws that was left of Interplay Entertainment. This game would be set between Fallout 1 and 2 and would bring back the antagonist of the Master. Not sure how that would really work. The player could select from a multitude of different races, including super mutants, ghouls, and humans. And it would include one of the largest Fallout maps to date, reaching from Arizona, California, Nevada, Oregon, and Utah. Although this was officially canceled in 2012, there's a free fan-made MMO called Fallout Online Reloaded, which is a very similar concept. Zetans nuked Earth. Who started the Great War? China, the US, Vault-Tec. Wrong. Zetans. In this theory, it's Zetans that started the Great War. Seeing humanity crumbling and destroying itself, they wanted to step in and give the final push to destroy the race of humanity. This is based solely on that Zetans have a giant laser that can be seen in the Mothership Zeta DLC, and there is a holotape within the DLC that Zetans were looking to get nuclear codes from US officials. And that's about it. This goes to show I do not believe in this theory that much, and I don't think it makes that much sense in the thematic sense of the game, but hey, it's just a theory. Camp Willow. Camp Willow is or was a military camp located at Willow Beach, southeast of Fortification Hill in Fallout New Vegas. The camp was in control of the NCR until a battle with the Legion left it to ruin and forced the NCR to be on the east side of the Colorado River. This location is only known due to the official game guide of Fallout New Vegas and early drafts of the game's maps which depict this camp location. No mention of this camp is found in the game, and it can be assumed that as the map of the game was being formed, the team realized it was too big and they had to scale it back, leading to the eventual loss of Camp Willow. Pinecrest Cavern Giants. Back in the Fallout 4 Far Harbor DLC, we can enter the Pinecrest Caverns, and while exploring we can come across a rather large human-looking skeleton that is much larger than the average human skeletons that are found. In fact, it is holding a skull and a spine of a regular human. We get no references to these giants anywhere in the game, nor do we hear about this ever again, so it's very odd to just see this one giant skeleton in this location. It's most likely just an Easter egg or a little reference from the developers and has no relative meaning because there is no other connections or mention to it in any terminals or anywhere else found in the game. Dead Money Evil Ending. I swear to God, this chart just loves anything dead money ending related, and I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm done with dead money. I'm done with looking at it. There are so many different entries that refer to this, and I swear I've looked at something that says dead money evil ending. So just look at other entries from past videos about dead money evil endings, because I'm just tired of the dead money endings at this point. Vaults 8 and 13 water chip mix-up. In case you didn't know, the first major storyline of the original Fallout game is the player trying to retrieve a new water chip for Vault 13, as they didn't have enough. In the Fallout Bible and Fallout 2, we learn exactly why Vault 13 didn't have enough water chips, and that was because it was shipped to Vault 8 and was a mistake. Vault 8 received hundreds of extra water chips, some of which were supposed to go to Vault 13. I think this is a hilarious comeback and reference to the older Fallout game, and it's just another example of that. True Jet Origins. Oh boy, this is a topic and a half. In Fallout 2, we meet Myron, who is the so-called creator of the drug known as Jet, one of the most addictive and effective drugs in the Fallout universe. He joined up with the Moriano's crime family in New Reno, which helped spread the trade and use of the drug, especially in the West Coast. Now, this entry refers to in particular to the fact that some of the Fallout games, mainly on the East Coast, Jet can be seen in places where it shouldn't be, mainly in vaults, where the original habits mention their addiction to the drugs, and you guessed it, where it shouldn't have been. These vaults should not have any mentions to it, especially because some of these places have not been touched pre-war, so any uses or the Jet being in there should not be the case. And this has really brought a divided factor between Bethesda and the fans, because many people are believing that Bethesda is basically just retconning the original creator of the drug and making it pre-war, or Myron just rediscovering or reinventing the drug. I personally think this was just an oversight by Bethesda and then them just putting a band-aid on it to try to make it make sense in the lore. It personally doesn't make that big of a difference in my head. I just wish Bethesda would just be a little bit more careful when it comes to lore and this kind of stuff, because we actually see the creator of the drug in the game, so I think it makes more sense to not have that, but I don't know. Siding with the Fiends. In Fallout New Vegas, you can meet the more organized raider group known as the Fiends, which is a morally evil group. This entry regards to that there is only one good ending for this faction, and that is if you end with an independent New Vegas and don't kill Motor Runner of the group. This will cause the group to be able to attack Camp McCarran during the Battle of the Hoover Dam and actually keeping their position in the camp. In every other ending, it will end with the Fiends being killed or betrayed by the other factions that they ally with. This is the only ending where they actually, for the most part, survive this attack and continue on after the game. Velvet Elvis. In Fallout 1 and 2, you can find a framed portrait of Elvis Presley on black velvet, commonly known as a Velvet Elvis in the real world. This little Easter egg is hilarious when exploring the wasteland, as it would be a lot funnier in the 90s to early 2000s when the game first came out, when households still had Velvet Elvises or cheap paintings of Elvis in their homes. In addition to this, the only location of this that can be found in the original Fallout game is in an alien ship special encounter, which alludes to the theory that Elvis was kidnapped by aliens or never died. Furthermore, the joke gets even better because in Fallout 76, Brother Scarberry will mention investigating a light that fell from the sky to only find a fuzzy painting of a man in a blue shirt, a direct reference to the Velvet Elvis from the original games. Also, I would like to add that this reference kind of makes Elvis Presley canon in the Fallout universe. And because we don't hear any of his music in the game, it can be chopped up to that Elvis is not as popular in the Fallout universe as it is compared to ours. Project V13. Project V13 was the codename that was made by Interplay for a secret project that was being worked on during the time of the Bethesda buying the rights of Fallout, and the big project was Fallout Online. Now, because I have already mentioned and talked about this entry in an earlier entry on this iceberg actually just a few seconds ago, I'm not going to cover all of that again, but just know that Project V13 was the inside codename to Fallout Online. Level 6. Patrocolus of the Montana Brotherhood. Patrocolus was the elder of the Brotherhood of Steel Montana Brotherhood, as mentioned by Elder Owen Lyles in a cut dialogue in Fallout 3, which is said in quote, Patrocolus supposedly said, "It is in service of steel and guardianship of one's brothers that each man finds its purpose. My friends, stand with your brothers, guard them, guide them, and each of them find purpose." Not much else is known of this chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel, however it can be assumed due to Owen mentioning him in a lighter tone that the two got along well enough, and even possibly had the same ideals to each other, meaning there's possibly another branch of Brotherhood of Steel that is similar to Owen Lyles. Boone and Fallout Tactics. This entry kind of disappoints me, I'm not gonna lie. While researching this, I thought this would be some kind of reference to Boone being in Fallout Tactics, or in the area, or him being from that area, that I thought would be super cool. But it's just the idea that the voice actor for Boone, Jason Marston, who has played other characters in the Fallout series, mainly Myron in Fallout 2, has played other characters, and a lot of throwaway characters in Fallout Tactics. However, the funny thing is one of the characters, Horace, just sounds a lot like Boone, like they have the exact same voice. So that is what this entry is referencing. The Mysterious Stranger is an Eldritch entity. The term The Mysterious Stranger is an Eldritch entity is originally from the Fallout 3 official game guide, which the small passage about the Mysterious Stranger is described as an odd and eldritch entity said to appear to aid you in combat before your dying breath. This, of course, has turned the community into different directions as to what Bethesda means by this. Some of this believe that this is a direct confirmation that the Mysterious Stranger isn't someone or a group of people or a ghost, but in fact an entity of an eldritch being, possibly similar to Qualoth. Now, if you're really interested in the Mysterious Stranger entity, I recommend you listen to our podcast, All Out of Stim Packs. I'll link it down below, but we did a whole section about this topic. Fallout 76 is a simulation. Oh boy, this is a really dividing theory, and I think people either really enjoy or really like this theory, or they just think this idea makes no sense. And although I do like the theory, and I think it can explain why this game is so disconnected from some lore in the other Fallout games, I think there are some things wrong about it. The main evidence comes from one terminal entry found in the archival terminal in White Springs Bunker, which says the following. Secretary Earnhardt, please, you need to listen to me. None of the other members will take me seriously, but I believe this is of the utmost importance. We are slaves, Mr. Secretary. I've been running some tests and I believe I've stumbled upon what I believe to be conclusive evidence that we are trapped playing someone else's game. Virtual strategic solutions game, that is. Everything around you, Mr. Secretary, is a simulation, a projection onto your brain. VSS has trapped us in here, and it is up to us to break free. The key to our escape, I believe, lies in the small town in what we perceive to be China. It's the link to the VSS external network. If we destroy it, it will shut down the simulation, and I believe finally be free. I cannot tell you exactly why we've been imprisoned. Perhaps this is a test by the upper ranks to make us earn our way into their good graces. Perhaps the VSS has trapped us in here to prevent the Enclave from stopping whatever nefarious acts are currently visiting upon the world in our absence. We must do something, Mr. Secretary. To fail to act, to give up the only thing that makes us men, our freedom. Now, this entry could be chopped away as just someone going insane, but combine this with the fact that there's writing on the walls that say nothing is real in certain areas in the world, it could possibly be referencing that Fallout 76 is just a simulation that is created by Vault-Tec? We know that this technology is also in the world, as can be seen in Operation Anchorage, Vault 112, and the Memory Den. Now, where this theory breaks apart is why there are factions seen in this game, like the Brotherhood of Steel or the Enclave, which most people, mainly Vault-Tec, shouldn't really have known about. Although you can respectfully say that they might know about the Enclave. Another issue with this is how they know about the certain mutated creatures, like Deathclaws, which can only really should be seen in the West Coast at this point in the Fallout timeline. But it could just be chopped up to someone just continuing the simulation even till the later part down in the timeline after Fallout 4, so who really knows about what this really means or if it's just a theory. Nobark Noonan is the chosen one. Nobark is an older man found in Novac in Fallout New Vegas. He seems to be a crazier man with memory issues. However, a fan theory is that Nobark Noonan is the chosen one from Fallout 2. As I have covered in previous video, you can find a crashed highwayman found in Fallout New Vegas just north of Novac, where if you have the Wild Wasteland perk, you will get there and the theme of the Fallout 2 theme will be playing. This of course references that the chosen one had the highwayman in the Fallout 2 game. There are a few different reasons as to why people might assume that Nobark might be the chosen one from Fallout 2, and this is because the crashed highwayman is relatively close to Novac, and Nobark is relatively the same age as to what the chosen one would be in the current Fallout timeline, as well as Nobark's shack is filled with posters from the old world and Vault-Tec, something he would have worshipped while growing up in Arroyo. And he also mentions encountering a talking mole rat. This is something that can be encountered in Fallout 2. Also, in the J. Sawyer mod, which reintroduces things that have been cut from Fallout New Vegas before its launch, it has a Vault 13 vault suit inside the crashed car, alluding to the fact that whoever owned this car was the chosen one. I personally really like this theory and could really see it being true, and I think it makes a lot of sense and has a lot of connections, so I definitely could see it being that. Dinosaur Footprints. In the original Fallout, the Vault Dweller can encounter a massive footprint that looks similar to that of a dinosaur. When entering the area, Taicho will make a comment saying, "Yeah, I'd stay the hell away from that, whatever made that. Seriously, I've never seen anything like that. I think our best option is just to move on, fast." This of course is just a fun Easter egg and something special the player can encounter for fun, and doesn't mean anything like a lot of other random encounters seen in the earlier games. However, something super interesting is the fact that this is referencing the original plot of the original Fallout game, which was described by Timothy Kane as the player time traveling and would involve dinosaurs. This is pretty different to what Fallout is now, and I'm glad they changed it to what it is now. Fallout Shelter Online. Developed as a sequel to Fallout Shelter by Sinquanji Games and published by Bethesda, this game serves as a prequel to Fallout 4 and a sequel to Fallout 3, and it is a mobile game very similar to Fallout Shelter, but has a plot and online battles and overall an improvement to Fallout Shelter. However, as of recording this, it is only available to certain countries in Asia. This is one of the most frustrating things about this to me, is that there is a whole mobile game that cannot be played and most likely will never be played because it has been around since 2020. The game follows a storyline that takes the player through the Commonwealth, meeting all the main companions and factions of Fallout 4, and then takes you to the Capital Wasteland, meeting other characters and factions like Herald. The biggest question and mystery of this game is it considered canon? Bethesda has made no reference to where it stands on that, and if they did and it is considered canon, it adds so many wild things to the canon of Fallout, such as the Enclave still being in the Capital Wasteland after Fallout 3, Herald being alive, and possibly intelligent Deathclaws being on the East Coast. I think I want to make a deeper dive about this topic later down on after I'm done with this iceberg chart, and because it just interests me so much and it's just such a crazy topic, so be on the outlook for that. Exodus. Way back in 2008, when the Fallout rights were in a weird position, an RPG system was in the works by Glutton Creeper Games that would eventually be called Exodus. However, this game was originally supposed to be a Fallout RPG system, and of course, because Bethesda was in that weird stage of just acquiring the rights to Fallout, Exodus had to completely shift gears and get rid of all the references to Fallout, and thus came the Exodus. Exodus is still a post-apocalyptic RPG, and although a lot of the references to the Fallout universe is gone, it has some similar artwork and style and theming to Fallout, which I think is really neat. I've been looking for a Fallout-type RPG system to play and get into, and what I've heard is it's similar to 3.5 edition of D&D, so I might have to check it out in the future. Abe and Monte. This entry refers to the two cut characters Abraham and Monte that were part of Veronica's storyline and somehow related to the Dead Money DLC. There is unused dialogue that hints that the two characters would need to be tracked down along with an object known as an accelerator that one of them would be carrying. It makes note that the two characters are assumed to be ghouls who were healed by the crater and have now gone north into ghoul country. All of these cut dialogue options can only be found in the Dead Money DLC, but noticeably, the DLC directly covers over the dialogue, so it can't be found in game. Honestly, I never knew about these characters, and I'm still confused about what they were and what the role they had in the game, so them being cut doesn't make that big of a difference. Fallout 2 causes Fallout 1. In Fallout 2, the Chosen One can encounter a group of standing rocks with a large circular rock in the center that, once interacted with, will create a portal bringing the Chosen One back into Vault 13 before the events of the original game. This can be seen by the Overseer being there in a complete vault, and the Chosen One can interact with items within the vault. If the Chosen One goes over to the water chip, he will break it, thus creating the beginning storyline of the original Fallout game that has the Vault Dweller going out and finding a replacement for the water chip. And I think this is a really cool thing, and although I don't think it is canon that the Chosen One causes Fallout 1, and I think this is more of an Easter egg to a Star Trek episode, I think this is one of my favorite encounters in the game, and just a really little known fact. Underwater Vault. Vault 120 was a cut vault from Fallout 4, which would be an entire vault being underground and still functional, and being controlled by the Overseer of a giant squid. The quest was called 20 Leagues Under the Sea and would be a Bioshock-style vault, with the player having two different endings on how to resolve issues in the vault. Interestingly, Captain Zhao of the Chinese submarine would be helping out on this quest. My favorite part about this vault is that although we knew that it was in Fallout 4 release, it wasn't until the release of Fallout 76 that we actually saw the meshes of what the vault actually looked like. This would have been a really cool thing to see. This vault is just so beautiful and so aesthetically pleasing if you like Bioshock. And although there's no reason to why the vault was eventually cancelled from the final parts of the game, it would have been super cool to see. The Interlooper. One of the few really cool Fallout 76 entries is the Interlooper, which is a weird creature within the deepest chambers in the Lucky Hole mine in Fallout 76, in a hidden area where most people miss. This creature is referenced as the firstborn of the wood and looks like a mix of Cthulhu-type mythos creature and that of wood. When the creature is shot, it reacts ever so slightly, but no matter how many times you shoot at it or damage it, it will not die and will just move ever so slightly. This being is what the cult of the Mothman pray to and worship. However, unknown to many of them, this creature is using them and tricking them into making sacrifices for that creature. This would later on create another sect of the Mothman cult, and those who saw past the deception of this creature being known as the Enlightened, and they follow the Wise Mothman. This entry is just a really cool thing in Fallout 76. I'm really glad that this was added to the game, and it just adds that it is still a Fallout game even though a lot of people just don't understand it. Fallout 2 Pop Rocks and Nuka Cola. Fallout 2 Pop Rocks and Nuka Cola. Like many video games over the course of development, things will be cut from the final version of the game, and Fallout 2 is no exception. In Fallout 2, in a cut location of the EPA, the player could find pop rocks, in which when inspected will say the following: an unopened bag of tasty carbonated candy made of sugar, lactose, more sugar, corn syrup, even more sugar, and flavoring. It is rumored that when mixed with drinks like Nuka Cola, one's stomach could explode. This references the myth that could be told to children for forever when mixing Pop Rocks to Coke or other dark sodas that they will explode, and even better, when the two items are actually combined in Fallout 2, this happens. Fallout 2 Tool Art. In Fallout 2, you can find various posters and artwork alongside the walls of the wasteland. Many of these posters showcase different ads and products of a different time. However, one of the posters can be a bit different, and that is a poster of Maynard James Keenan from Tool and the artwork of the band's first album, Undertow, released in 1993. This brings up the question of music and culture in the Fallout series. As stated and seen through the games, the music stayed in the classics 50 to 16 American type, and Tool, well, is not that. Although I personally think it's just a nod and fits with the overall theme of the older games, it is just interesting to see. Vault 11 Survivor Candidates. Vault 11 is a vault found in Fallout New Vegas, to which the experiment was to force the vault residents to pick one dweller to be sacrificed each year. To which each year for 16 years straight, they voted who to be picked as the overseer and then who to be killed. This would be until one of the overseers called to have it be decided by computer rather than voting, to which an all-out war was formed by minor factions that had been created, leaving only 5 people alive, 4 men and a woman. When the survivors told the computer they refused to pick someone to die, the computer congratulated them for refusing and opened the vault doors, allowing them to leave. The remaining 5 people decided on what to do next, with the person referred to as Voice 1 trying to convince the others to just leave the vault and continue on the tale of what Vault-Tec made them did. However, the 4 other people were not convinced and turned the guns they had on themselves, leaving only Voice 1 to leave the vault. This brings up the question as to what happened to this lone survivor. Did he go out into the wasteland and tell the people of what happened in his vault? However, it's hard to tell who it could be, and there are many theories of who it could be. Most interestingly about it is there was an original cut character model about what this character would be like and could be seen in game. And because you can't find any references to this or any stories about it, there's nothing else that could be known, and right now it's just theories. Vulpes Inculta is a really bad spy. Vulpes Inculta is the head spy master of the Caesar's Legion and is the next in line for the throne of the Legion. However, this entry refers to Vulpes Inculta isn't a good spy, with the idea that he has nothing of noteworthy in his stats and specialty and is really easy to kill. If you have Arcade Cannon with you when he approaches you after meeting Mr. House, Arcade will make a note saying exactly who he is. So, even in the game, it's pretty obvious that even regular people know that he is the spy master and what he looks like, thus his disguises don't really work. And if people know what he is, what he does, and if his disguises don't work, how is he a good spy master? That will conclude tier 5 and 6 of this iceberg. Did I miss something, or do you have any questions? Please leave them in the comment section down below. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter for more Fallout and other related content. Do you have any more theories and concepts you want me to cover in the future? Please just let me know in the comment section down below. This is Nick from Nostalgic, signing off.